Chelsea Poe, and I'm here today with YNOT Cammy Awards 2022 Trans Performer of the Year, Nel Parker. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm so excited to meet you. You were behind me in line actually at the YNOT Awards.
I thought so.
I was like,
I was like, is that Chelsea? I whispered to the person with me. I swear to God. I was like, but I don't know for sure. And I don't want to be like rude, So I didn't ask.
I didn't want to be weird either because I was like, okay, so you're like the only like trans mask aligned person who was
Yeah.
nominated. And then I was like, I can't just assume any like mask person in a suit is them. I'm like, I
You're
can't do
so
that.
funny. But it was me.
Yeah,
It
it
was me.
was.
It was you. We should have just
Yeah,
been like, what's up to each other?
for sure. And I feel like at these like awards and things, like I feel like particularly I've been in this industry for so long. After the pandemic, I feel like everyone's new now. So I feel like I barely know anyone. So I'm always
Definitely.
like now like, oh my God, everyone else knows each other, even if they don't. You do you ever get
Yeah,
that feeling?
I totally get that. I do think that there was like a huge influx of new sex workers with the pandemic. And in some ways that's like a good thing, but in some ways it was hard for a lot of people. And I think it definitely was like interesting for a lot of people who started during the pandemic to see what it now as, I mean, that's not over, it's still happening, but like
Yeah.
the people that happened to start during it, it's interesting to see them as, as it's like progressed past like they've realized, okay, well, either they've quit or they're like
Hmm.
sticking around and they're like, I'm really doing this. It's been about 2 years, right? So like a little over. It's kind
Yeah,
of
it's like a
interesting,
porn
right?
career.
It
Yeah. I
is,
think
yeah,
like
exactly. Like the turnaround is kind of interesting in this field.
yeah. How long have you been in? Because
I've been
I
in
feel
like 2.5 years. So
okay, so you got in right as the pandemic started,
yeah,
basically.
like right, yeah, right around, right before, like right around the, yeah, when it started. So it wasn't like that was the thing that started it for me. But it did happen to be around the same time. Does that make sense? So.
Yeah, before we get into how you started, like how are you feeling after winning and stuff? Like
Oh my God, I am like over the moon. I'm like, I stare at my award all the time and I'm
I
just like,
know,
is
I
that
have
real
mine right
life?
here too.
I'm like, is that real life? I have it like right where I can see it up, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm,
and so I'm
yeah.
always like, what? And it's funny because when I first won it, so they announced my name and they were like, and the winner is Nel Parker with My Free Cams. And then they were like, oh shit. They were like, we're sorry we put My Free Cams on your plate, but we realized you represent Chatterbait now. Like, we'll get it reprinted. So they just gave me like a blank trophy that
Oh my
night.
God, I had a blank trophy too.
Yeah, they gave me a blank trophy.
So they gave me the one with for the trans creator of the year.
Gosh,
So my assistant went up on stage afterwards and was like, "Oh, can you like replace it?" And I is it Connor who's on stage
I think
or
it was
yeah,
Jay.
Jay, and he like
Jay,
pulls out
yeah.
a knife and pops it off and just like hands me a playing award. I'm
That
like,
is
what the
so
fuck?
that is so Jay. Like that is like the epitome of his like persona and character and everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that is such a Jay thing to do to pop out a knife and like fucking yeah, I got this. You know what I mean? Like that's so funny.
So did you get your nameplate yet
Yeah,
delivered?
so I did. I got the one that says Nell Parker Chatterbait, and I thought it was pretty fucking awesome to win as Trans Cam Star of the Year under My Free
Yeah.
Cams, even though I don't like representing My Free Cams anymore necessarily, because it was kind of like fuck yeah, like I am trans and they kind of have to deal with it, you know what I mean? And like I changed my legal gender identity last year and updated it with them and was worried that I'd get banned for being gender X. But so they haven't, and I've still just been kind of creeping under the radar. I think I'm just making them just enough money for them not to let it slide, if that makes sense.
This is like the
So
real shit about camming where it's like these
yeah, like
sites are
well, that's the
so
thing. It's so true though, but like they're kind of interesting people that run MFC. So yeah, so I technically won it like with MFC, right? But they like don't want that. So I was like, oh yeah, Chatterbait's my main site, and so they printed it for Chatterbait and sent it to me, and it's awesome. And Chatterbait was super excited that I won with them, and they wanted to like advertise all like about me and things like that, which was really cool because MFC was like radio silent about my win.
yeah.
And I was at a table full of MFC models who also were nominated, and I was the only MFC model to win. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So they just were radio silent about my win. But I
Yeah,
kind of
because
expected that.
they're like so overtly like anti-trans
They're
too.
very
And it's just
transphobic. Yeah, they're very transphobic. And
which
so
It's
It's
crazy
fucked up.
now because it's so like most of the porn industry I think is pretty accepting of trans shit now.
That's the thing. It's like, what are you losing at this point? You're losing money. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah,
being stupid and losing money at this point by not like in letting everyone, who wants to perform, right? Like everyone who's consenting, should be allowed to.
for sure.
It's
So
ridiculous.
so you've like won a shit ton of stuff in the last few years. Like I saw your
I have,
stats. You've
think
won like
six
six
awards. Yeah.
in 2 years. That's crazy. So like
Thank
how are
you.
you dealing with that? Because like obviously like when you're on the come up, it's really exciting. You're winning shit. But like
It's
how do you
bizarre.
feel? Because it's weird. Like when I first came in this industry and shit started going well, I was like almost being like, why is all this happening?
That's
Because
I feel like serious imposter syndrome. Like I keep being
yeah.
like, what is this? This is not real. Like, for example, I won this award and I just was like, what? Like when I won, I thought to myself, it's such an honor to be nominated among these other great people. And like,
Hmm.
it's a great, amazing opportunity to represent like non-binary and trans masked people. And like, I just was so excited to be nominated. But to win it just blew me fucking away. Like I wasn't anticipating that. And then like other things that have happened recently, like I don't know, it's honestly it's mind-boggling. It's just kind of hard to wrap my brain around still sometimes. And I do feel like imposter syndrome sometimes because streaming on different sites, even on Chatterbait, it's like sometimes people come in my room and they're like, you're not a girl enough, you're not a boy enough, you're not
Yeah.
trans enough, you're not, because they expect like I don't know, like when they say trans, a lot of people online expect like a chick with a dick, right? You know what I mean? Like that sounds bad, sorry,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that because but that's what I'm saying because it's like what they
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's what they would
yeah, yeah,
expect. And like
yeah.
I'm like not
I'm not gonna
that,
call
if
you
that
out.
makes
I'm
sense.
not gonna have a call out right now. I'm not gonna be like, did you just say chick on a dick
But
on my
like
podcast?
my wife says that too, and she's
Hmm.
trans, so like you know what I mean. So I hope that that's
Yeah.
not like
Oh
you,
no,
you know.
I was just kidding with you.
Okay, good. I
I
was like,
got
shit,
you.
I hope
I
that was
got
okay to
you.
say. But like, does that make sense? That's what they picture
Yeah.
when they hear
Yeah.
trans.
Yeah, they think
They
of a
don't
trans
picture
woman.
anything else. They think of a trans woman. They don't think
Hmm.
of me. They don't think of someone who's trans masked. And so a lot of people like come into my room and they're like, "What are you?" Which is really interesting, but I get to educate people and get to like, explore that with a lot of people. So,
And I also like think trans mask, like in this industry, people think of like Buck Angel.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
like
You're so right.
a man who wears a cowboy hat for his career, you know?
Yeah,
Like
manly man. And I'm like not quite that either,
yeah.
So it's really funny, I'm like somewhere in the middle and it freaks people out sometimes. They're like, what do I do with you?
Yeah, but like I also feel like you can have your own thing in that way where there's
Yeah.
been a handful of non-binary performers and stuff in the past, like Jiz Lee,
Yes,
who've like
very much so.
definitely like gotten nominated and won awards and stuff. But I think it has to be a kind of strange experience because you are in this world is like I feel like with trans porn, it really wants to put us in binaries where it's like
Yeah,
you're either a straight woman or like for trans guys in porn, it's like you do gay porn then basically.
exactly. Like they really want to put us into those little boxes, people, that they
Hmm.
have in their mind, I think. And like if you don't fit into that box, they want to squish you into it, even if you don't fit into it.
For
And you're like,
sure.
well, like listen, homie, sometimes that's just not how it is. But I think it's been really, I don't know, it's been really amazing to win these awards and to be really just I'm so happy to be like have come out like
Hmm.
honestly because I was when I first got into sex work, I kind of was pretending to be a girl because I thought that's how I was supposed to make money. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I was like miserable and I wasn't like as unhappy as I was with other jobs. So I was like, oh, it's fine. This is better than it was. I'm not being mistreated as much as I was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was like,
Oh no, I think it stopped for a second.
transness and everything. And I think it's
Oh,
been,
it just stopped for a second. Can you repeat
oh,
yourself?
no worries. Oh, wait, one second. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Hopefully it should be fine. I don't know. Sometimes it does this. If we're still all on Zoom, so
Yeah, no, that works totally. I haven't done it before with the Zoom recording for one of mine, and I need to figure it out. So I'm excited to hear your tricks. I'm gonna
Yeah,
ask you for some
definitely.
like hot tips since you know like all of the ins and outs.
A li- uh, you're giving me too much credit, but so you were saying that you started like doing sex work, trying to like read as like cis essentially.
Yeah, I did. I tried to
Mm-hmm.
originally, and I realized that that just wasn't, even though maybe ultimately maybe I could make more money that way, I didn't want that to be my brand. I wanted my brand
Mm-hmm.
to be authentic, and I wanted to make porn for people like me. Like I wanted to make queer porn. I wanted it to
Yeah.
be, you know what I mean? And like I feel like there's not enough of like that. There's not enough queer porn
Mm-hmm.
made for queer people by queer people. Like there is, but you know, there it's not as
We can use
popular.
more. We can
We
always
can
use more.
always use more, and we can use more representation, more love, and more, you know what I mean? And I so want to be a part of that, you know, and be a part of bringing that more to the mainstream, you know, eye, and like making it more normalized for people to be like, hey, maybe I am a little queer, heck, you know what I mean? Like some people come into my room and they're like, I'm straight, but I don't know, like they, you know, they hang out with me for a little bit and they're like, you're so queer, I don't know, you're rubbing off on me a little bit. And I'm like,
That
shit, I know. And it makes me happy when people like rediscover their sexuality because of me or something. You know what I mean?
I always like on Chatterbait how you can like mark someone's account and put a note down. And I always do
Yeah.
if you've come in my room just so I can kind of have an algorithm of like, oh, you've been here 5 times. You're probably not gonna pay this time.
Right.
I
Yeah.
always like the ones who've been in your room 5 times and they're every time they're like, this is the first time I've ever seen a trans person on here.
And
I'm
you're
doing
like, oh,
something
really?
so yeah, I'm like, you've been here 4 times in the last month. I
Yeah.
have the dates.
You're like, I've been noting it. Exactly. I've been taking
Yep.
notes. Just because you haven't doesn't mean that I have.
Yeah, that's always funny.
Oh my God. People
So
are great.
what so like when did you get started? So the pandemic started in like March of
Yeah, it was
2020.
right around there. It was like right before it, or right around there, because I was hospitalized right before that. And then so I'd quit my job. I was working for a bakery as a head of the wedding department and running the wedding department, which essentially was like, you know, handling all of the wedding cakes and all of the clients and things like that. And
Where are
I
you
was like,
based, by the way?
I'm out of Northern California.
Okay, cool. Same.
Yeah. Nice, very cool. Yeah, I'll have to make you a coffee sometime or something.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be so cool. Um,
Oh, you went silent again. Huh.
it's okay. Sorry.
Oh, you're back. You're good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
It keeps cutting out a little bit.
Okay, well, hopefully I think people will engage. If
I'm
not,
so sorry.
they no, you're fine. If not, they don't deserve a nuanced conversation about trans sex work.
True. Very true. I
So you
think it's
were oh, so you were like doing cake baking before the
yes. So
pandemic?
I was, and I actually had modeled before. I had been in like a editorial and runway model when I was
Mm,
younger, from a very young age, and so I was familiar with modeling. And I thought to myself, I never want to go back to that because it was really unhealthy. Like that sort of
yeah.
modeling was super unhealthy industry, and I was like anorexic and just depressed, and it was miserable. But I started cooking, which sounds funny. I went from like being in that the hands like headspace to cooking, and then you know cooking was great for a few years and everything. But then I was like, I don't want to do this forever for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
I see all of my idols like getting old and miserable and not able to afford their lives, and you know what I mean. I was like, I don't
Hmm.
want to see that for myself. So I had a friend be like, you should try cam modeling. You know, you'd be really good at it, and I hadn't considered it before. And it was actually one of my partners, and he was like, you should give it a shot. You'd be really good at it. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. But I was hesitant because of my background in like editorial modeling. I was
Hmm.
nervous to get back into something that would make me feel like insecure about my body. But I thought, you know what, fuck it. Like I'll give it a shot. I'm kind of an exhibitionist already. Like what's the harm in trying? So yeah, so I jumped into it, and I kind of jumped into it a little bit too fast. Like I feel like a lot of people, like I'm usually a very like research oriented person, and like I do my research before I do things or apply to a job. But for some
Hmm.
reason with camming, I like just jumped in. Like I just jumped both feet in, you know what I mean? Like, and I was not prepared and hadn't watched that many cams when I first started, really, like honestly. So I got kind of like screwed over a couple times and stuff, and
Oh,
kind of left a bad taste in my mouth at first because I was like, well, this is rough, you know, sex work is rough. But then I was like, wait a second, like I get to be my own boss. Like I get to pick when the fuck I work. I get to pick who
Hmm.
I talk to and who gets to stay in my room and who gets to be a part of this conversation. Like I was realizing how much more freedom I have in this job, even though there's some, of course there's some restrictions with any job there are, but there is so much more freedom in this job than I was getting with anything else. And
For
so I
sure.
was like, okay, I'm gonna keep making this, making this happen because it's worth it to me. And it took a while. Like I found some people in the beginning who loved me right off the bat, and then connected with my brand right away. Or even though I didn't have a brand, they kind of just connected with me as a person,
Hmm.
before I'd even developed a brand, you know what I mean? And so I had some people who stuck with me from the very beginning, but honestly, like a lot of people have come to me more in the last like year and found me overdoing a lot of my really goofy and trans shows, like my super queer, like dressing like a dude, dressing like Bob Ross or Gene Kelly, or like, you know what I mean? People
You
fucking
you
love
dressed
it.
like Bob Ross
I did
for
I did a Weird Al night 2 nights in a row actually. Weird Al, and I sung like a bunch of different Weird Al songs and like had a full fucking like wig and like the glasses and everything and like an accordion. I had an accordion, like it was awesome. And yeah, Bob Ross. I did a Bob Ross night and like fully like painted like Bob Ross and everything.
I'm glad you're making queer porn weird again. I feel like it's gotten
I love
kind
it.
of more mainstream a little
No,
bit, but that's so much
we gotta
fun.
keep it weird. Like I love it. I want it to be like fun and creative and inspiring and and obviously not every porno I make is like that. Sometimes it's like, it's straight to the point, right? But like
Hmm. Yeah.
I try to make it interesting and have something that like grabs you and makes you be like, "Ooh, that's fun." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like queer porn was very much about that, especially like maybe 5, 6 years ago. I feel like
Yeah,
there were so many people doing weird things, and like
right?
I
I agree.
remember I ran in, do you know Mona Wales?
Yeah, or not no, but
Oh
yes.
yeah. Yeah, I ran into her at XFIS. I'm like, "Oh, what are you working on?" And she's like, "So I'm gonna make this movie that's like a queer porn, but everyone's on roller skates the whole movie." So she's
That's
like,
like
"If
my
if
shit.
you know anyone who roller
That's
skates."
my jam. I'm a roller skating queer person. Hello, sign me up. That's so fun.
Yeah, so like just that like people keep doing like
I
weird
love that.
creative things. I love that shit so much. It's so fun.
Right? I love it too. That's so fun that she's doing or that she did that. That's super cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
don't know
love,
if it ever came out. Maybe.
right? Yeah. I actually recently this last year was in Hump Film Festival. I don't know if you've ever
Mm,
heard of it.
yeah,
It's
definitely.
yeah, Dan Savage puts it on and it's really great. And I starred in it and it was a short film about my actually with my experience with the modeling industry, with runway modeling and my body and like anorexia, and how cam modeling has helped me come to love my body and like embrace my body and accept my body in ways that I never could before. And so it's just a short film and it actually has me like roller skating in it and stuff. And so like it's a sexy, film that shows me also like masturbating and like pouring candy all over my body and like eating a barbecue, sandwich and there's like barbecue dripping on my titties. You know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah.
very like empowering and fun and like also sexy, but like, kind of gives you a lot of feelings, right? And it was in Hump Film Festival this last year, and we were really proud of it. Me and a couple of my friends put it together. But that was a really good, like, I feel like, expression of porn and queerness, and like it was an all queer cast, all queer, like production team. Even the musical artist was queer. You know what I mean? Like we loved it. It was like we didn't mean for that to happen, but we were like, oh yeah, everybody's queer here on this
That's so
project.
badass.
Yeah, we loved it. It just turned out that way. So we were really proud
Yeah.
of it.
I really like how Hump is like a more mainstream festival in the
It
United
is.
States because in like I don't know if you know about like the whole European porn festival scene, but there's like all sorts of like festivals all around Europe and that there's like at least one here that's doing that stuff. I think it's really cool.
Oh yeah.
Um yeah, I went on Dan Savage his podcast once, but
Awesome.
they
How
didn't
did
do
that
enough.
go?
Not great because they did it on 420 and they did not research me enough, so I was high as fuck.
Oh no.
And then, like there was a question, like they had a caller question. They're like, "Oh, where can I find trans women?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We like most of us have to get hormones, so maybe like Walgreens or CVS."
You're so funny.
I was so high that day.
Walgreens. Oh my God, you're so funny.
So there's probably
That's
some
hilarious.
chaser somewhere who's just like hanging out at Walgreens being like, oh, I
Right?
think that one's trans.
Kelsey told me. That's so funny, dude. I
Yeah.
love that. You're
Um,
so funny.
so how long like into porn were you, I mean into camming until you were like, okay, I want to do this seriously? Because I'm sure like your first few cam shows, you weren't
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm so fully sold, or were you?
No, the first few were rough. Like they were definitely interesting. But
Did
it's
you
funny,
make
I
much
looked.
on your first 2 days on?
No, nothing, hardly anything. Like it's funny because I went and looked. I had made this menu on MFC, and I had left it from when I had first started. And then like recently, I went and looked back at it, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was charging nothing. Like I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't know what to charge. I didn't know what to charge, so I was like charging pennies for like crazy explicit things, and
Yep.
people were taking advantage of that, and I wasn't making any money, and I was like unhappy doing all of this raunchy shit, and like you know what I mean? And I was like, well, I just didn't know better, and no one told me. Everyone was just like, oh yeah. So
Yeah, there's no guide to camming, I feel
no,
like. It's just
there
like you get
isn't. It's
on.
kind of like sink or swim. And so I was just furiously, doggy paddling there for a while. And it was I made enough money for me to keep trying. Does that make sense? So it wasn't
Yeah.
like nothing, but it was enough for me to keep being like, oh, all right, let's like I'm enjoying this enough. And like even though it's difficult, I'm enjoying this enough to keep trying. And then I started to have more fun with it. And once I really like came out honestly as trans, that's when I really honestly realized how much I love being in this industry. And it took a little while before I was like super invested in Nel Parker.
Hmm.
It took me a little while to kind of fall in love with Nel and like embrace my brand and figure out what my brand is. And obviously that's always evolving, but to get an idea of who I am and like how I want to represent myself and everything. So it took a little while, probably almost a year, probably. And then after that, I started to get my groove and I started to make more money and I
Hmm.
started to have more regulars, and people were like, rather than like for example, the first like May 4th that I did, I dressed like Chewbacca, and most people came in and they were like, this is weird. You're weird. I'm leaving. I was masturbating to Chewbacca. They were like, I don't like it. This is weird. This is too far. And I was like, okay, whatever. But a couple people came in that day and were like, you're fucking awesome. This is hilarious. I
Yeah.
love it. And they've stuck with me for like the whole time since then. And so it's funny because some people like I do that weird shit like Bob Ross or whatever, and they're like, okay, fucking weirdo, right? And they're like, I'm gonna report you or some shit. And I'm like, calm down, calm your dick down. You know what
Fucking
I mean? Like,
everyone who says they're gonna report you
oh my
when
God,
they
it's
have
so
no tokens and they're like, you're gonna be kicked off the site. I'm like, these
oh,
sites
like
don't give a fuck.
what you have to say holds so
They
much power,
don't
buddy.
care. They want the
They think
30% or whatever they're getting from us. They don't
they
give a
think they
fuck.
have power, but they have no power whatsoever.
This shit's so. I feel like that's always the fun when I talk to other like cam performers
Yeah.
specifically, because you deal with like the people saying the most delusional shit and thinking that they have all this power, and you're just like, you
Yep.
you realize I'm just in my bedroom trying to work right now,
And
right?
you're like, come on, dude. Yeah. Like, I'm just a person, you're just a person.
Settle down.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true.
So, when did you start making like clips and like porn at the same time as you started camming, or did that kind of come later?
I actually started doing that pretty early on, and making clips. I just like made some terrible ones in the beginning. They're not very good, so I sell them for really cheap now. Like some of my friends retire their porn after a while, right? They'll just be like, "Oh, I'm getting rid of it because I don't feel like." But I haven't done that yet. I just sell it for cheaper because I'm like, this was me in the beginning. You get to see what I was like
Yeah.
when I was brand new, and yeah, it's not as polished, and maybe the video recording isn't as nice, but you get an idea of what I was like then. And so I think it's kind of fun. And I think it's fun that I have so many videos. Some people are like, wow, you have a lot to choose from. Like you're like the Cheesecake Factory of models. And I'm like my menus and
Oh
my
my
albums.
God. That should
'Cause-
be your tag.
Honestly, it is or people will be like, honestly, it's like, or like a Chinese restaurant or something. You know how it's just like pages, like it's a
Yeah.
menu, like, it's like pages and pages, and you're like, holy shit. Because I have that with my tip menus and with my, like, honestly, most of my stuff. I'm a long-winded person. It's hard for me to keep things short and sweet. So,
I mean, this is the perfect medium for that. I can see why you have a
right?
podcast then. I feel like this is every time I do a podcast with someone, they're like, I have a long story. I'm like, okay, go
You're
for
like,
it.
sweet, do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Take 30 minutes.
I
Great.
love it. It's great. It's so true though. I love your sweatshirt, by the way. It says
Oh, thank you.
antisocial social club. That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cherry blossom one. So
I
on the
love
back it's
that.
all cherry
Oh,
blossom.
it's so cool.
I'm
Thank you for
sure
showing me.
I'm sure people have seen this somewhere. I wear this way too much. It's always my like go-to. I'm like, okay, I have to get on cam. I have to look like I'm kind of didn't wake up recently. So
You look amazing.
great, thank you. As do you. You have your full light setup.
Oh, thank you. I kind of did the basics and I'm like, you know, you were like, and no one's gonna be able to see you. And I was like, yes, sweet.
Yeah,
I was so
I
happy.
we get a lot of demands on this where people are like, I want to see the porn stars. I'm like, then buy their porn. I'm
Yeah,
like,
then buy that porn, homie.
I'm not gonna wake up and do my makeup to be on a podcast. And
Yeah.
I don't want to ask anyone to do that because I think that's way beyond acceptable.
Oh, I can so relate to that. Yeah.
So when you started winning all these awards, like, did it kind of change your perspective or
I definitely feel like in some ways it made me feel, it sounds weird, but it almost made me feel more imposter syndrome to win awards. Does that add up at all? Like it almost feels like what the hell? Like why am I winning this? Like even though I'm trying so hard and I work really hard, it was kind of like I didn't feel like deserving of it. And so that's been interesting to have a lot of people be like, affirming to me that like no, you are working hard and you do deserve those awards when I've doubted myself, like my regulars and my family and things like that, and they're very
Mhm.
supportive for the most part. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's changed my perspective a little bit and made me feel in some ways more imposter syndrome, but in some ways less, in the sense of being like, okay, like people actually like what I'm doing, I guess. It's affirming. So in some ways it's been positive, but I definitely am still kind of getting used to it. And I don't know, like for you, you've won a handful of awards yourself. Like you've won like a good amount, right? Like what's for
Yeah.
your experience? Do you feel like
Um, I think early on it was a lot of like straight up denial where I'm
right?
like, oh, it's
Yeah.
everyone else who was involved in this project who made it win.
Right,
But
not me.
then,
Like everyone voted for me. It wasn't me.
yeah, where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, we did a good movie together. And then, like, winning Why Not was really crazy because from 2020 to 2021, when I won last year, I was completely in the mindset of before that, I was like, I'm pouring everything into my work. I'm depressed. You know what's going to solve that? Making a cool movie or whatever. And it worked for a while because I got nominated for a bunch of shit and made some good movies.
Yeah.
But when the world stopped, I had to like actively be like, okay, I have to be a person. It was the
Yeah.
first time I wasn't traveling, you know, to Europe or cross country or whatever stuff that kind of comes with porn. So
Yeah.
it made me like actively be like, okay, I'm in one place. I need to have a work-life balance, which I had none before.
Yeah. Which can be
So
really hard in this industry to find.
yeah, I had none before because I was always working. I was always going. Oh, my now fiance and I moved in 2 months before the pandemic started. So it was like this like really big drastic change in my life to be like, oh wow, I'm gonna have this family someday and like all this other stuff to really put porn as not my biggest priority, probably
Yeah.
third. And then winning after that just validated like, holy shit, you don't have to burn yourself out to get
Yeah.
success in this stuff. Especially because it was a little break too, because I think I won my last thing in 2016 until last year. So it was like a really big break. And then just really the impact it had back home. Like I had all my exes reached out to me. I had like elementary teachers reach out to me. Like
Whoa. Elementary.
my grandma like made this huge post about being so proud of me. And I'm just like, holy
Oh,
shit. This is like really full circle moments and shit. Because the first time I went to that award show, no, it was the second time. It was the same venue. It was the T Awards though, which I don't know your feelings on that personally.
mixed.
Okay, so I went there and it was the
I've
first year
had,
they
did
changed
you
it
have a
from
good
the
experience or what?
no, this is very bad.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I don't know if you know, I made this petition to remove slurs from trans porn. And I like did all this stuff. and they ultimately changed the name of the award show. So the host that year went on stage and just like trashed me for the first 10 minutes of the show from on
What the
stage.
fuck?
And I was in the front row. I lost my phone in the Uber there. So I'm like, I have no distractions. And it like was a full-blown like Taylor Swift Kanye moment for 10
Oh my
minutes.
God.
So I was nominated for 5 awards and I lost every single one of them.
Oh my
And then
God.
I tried to quit porn that night. And Courtney Trouble's like, well, we have a shoot tomorrow. Are you down to do like one more shoot and just see how it goes? I'm like, okay, I'll do one more. It was an amazing scene. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay in porn. But
Yeah.
that was like the last time I went to that venue until winning. So it was like this
God,
huge,
that's
big,
harsh.
yeah.
What the f-
So honestly, porn was so mean when I first got into it. People were
Yeah, that would
so
be
mean and
devastating.
like very cutthroat, just very intense. And then why not this last year? It was so nice. Everyone was so nice to each other.
Yeah.
And like there was so much celebration and just
People
positivity.
people were really helping like lift each other up and celebrate each other. It felt like
Yeah.
at this YNOT Awards a lot more than last year, it felt like. Because I went to last year too. And I definitely feel like it was more positive this year, although they still
Yeah.
really need to work on their damn entertainment. Their
Yeah, it was
comedy is
interesting.
horrible last year and this year. Like, I'm
Last year
sorry.
was so bad.
Last year was so bad, people booed them. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I've seen people get booed off stage at AVN though.
Ah, oh, really? Oh, that's so
Yeah, there's been some
interesting.
really bad comedians because everyone goes in and they're like, I have my 10 minutes on porn. And it's
Right?
like,
That's
ha
the
ha
thing.
ha, whores. And
The
like
comics
that's
are
it.
just like, ah, whores and like herpes, or like, you fuck dogs, don't you? Or some shit like that. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, what do you think we are? You maniac? Like, they say the craziest shit. Or they'll
Yeah.
just be like, oh, yeah, I love using Tinder to get free nudes from girls. And we're like, we're a bunch of sex workers, homie. Like, what do you think we're going to respond to that with? Like, laughter?
I feel like most people who are in the civilian world are so bad at porn award shows. The best person I've ever seen was Cardi B at
Oh,
AVN.
yeah.
She was like, I'm more excited about this than the Grammys. And she's like, I know all
Right?
these people. I'm like, it was real as hell. I'm like,
I wish I
I
could have
believed
been
it.
there.
Yeah,
I heard amazing things.
my partner and I got on stage with her during the stage rush. It
That's
was
so
crazy.
cool.
It was fucking crazy. And then
That's
the
like a
next
once in
week,
a lifetime moment.
yeah, then the next weekend she won her first Grammy.
Oh my
It was just
God.
like fucking crazy.
That's a
Yeah,
cool week to have been a part of that.
my partner has a bunch of selfies on stage with her and then like people were like falling because they were trying to get selfies with her. So I was like pulling girls from under her feet.
Oh, just getting stampeded,
I
all
was like
these
face to face
people.
with her. I'm like, holy shit, this is Cardi B.
That's amazing. What an experience.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what porn does is it gives you like these weird experiences that you're just
Right. I
like even
agree.
just going to Hollywood for the Why Not Awards, like
Oh yeah.
I never thought in my life I'd be like doing a Hollywood red carpet
Right? I never thought
where
this
like
about
all the
either.
stars are on the ground and shit.
Isn't
Like
that
that
so
shit's
fun though to see the
it's
stars on
so
the ground and to
crazy.
be like walking the red carpet, even if it's kind of a small one, it's still exciting and like, like it's
Yeah.
still it's funny because people are like some people are like, oh, like I was taking pictures of it and people were like, oh, it looks smaller than it looks on the video. Like in the interviews, people think that it's like a bigger red carpet. And then in person, I took videos right of it from afar
Mhm.
across the street, and people were like, oh, it's like smaller than you realize. They make it look more dramatic, I feel like, on camera.
For sure.
Like they squeeze it onto the sidewalk there. It's kind of remarkable, but they make a red carpet happen right there in Hollywood, like that, like in the middle of, the street, it feels like.
It's crazy. Like, I feel like the longer you spend time in LA, the more you realize how much
Yeah.
of that stuff's kind of a
It's just
facade.
everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, I lived
But
in West Hollywood for a few years and I would just wander around and see, you'd see Mario Lopez wherever and just like all these people like all the time. I swear. For some reason I saw Mario Lopez like 40 times, I swear, when I lived there. I don't know why, but like it's just like weird because like people see celebrities and freak out to me in my general life and I'm like, "No, like it's not that big of a deal. They're just people." You know what I
for
mean?
real, yeah.
I got more excited at the porn award show than I ever got meeting like a celebrity, like an A-lister or whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like I relate to Cardi B being like, this is way more exciting. You know what I mean? Like
For
I was all
sure.
starstruck at the Why Not Porn Awards, being like, oh my God, I've masturbated to you before, and you know what I mean? Like people.
Yeah, I feel like I like actually watching porn. I feel like I've had to get away from people I know.
Yeah, I
So like
agree.
I'm like, all I watch is like Eastern European BDSM
Right?
now, where I'm like, I'm not gonna run into these people anywhere.
It's funny because I've done that where I've like been watching a nice video and then later on I've like saw them at an award show and been like, oh my God, like a little like like a little shy almost.
For
And I'm like, I
sure.
don't know why they would love it. I think they'd be happy. Like I'd be happy if another performer came up to me and was like, I masturbated to you, I love your video or whatever. You know what I mean? I'd be like, sweet, you know what I mean?
I'm sure you're gonna get that in like the next like year or so. Because it's weird once you hit like 3 or 4 years in porn, people who are entering porn now will be influenced by you.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird thing because porn generations are so small. So there's like people who, are your same age or barely like younger than you who are like, oh no, you inspire me to do porn. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
here if it wasn't for you. And you're just like, okay.
And you're like, yes, I am ancient. Thank you.
It does kind of
I
make
am
you
a
feel like that.
senior sex worker. No, I'm just joking. I
But
love when people are like in this industry for like a lot of people are though for in the industry for like 8, 10 plus years. And I think that's awesome. And because some people are like, oh, like, some of my family who's had bitter things to say about my job, they're like, you're gonna age out of it. And I'm like, fucking no, I'm not. Like I can do this as long as I want. I see people that are doing it well into their like 50s and making bank,
for sure.
easily.
I feel like a lot of the thing, like with particularly AVN, is you see people win their awards in their 30s, where you'll see someone
Absolutely.
get nominated for 10 years in a row, not win anything. And then once they're 32, they start winning stuff.
Yep.
So I think it's just like remembering if you just keep making stuff and keep being around and keep being in the conversation, I feel like that's
Yeah,
honestly half the
absolutely.
battle where people's like when I started in like 2013, I think there's like 3 performers left.
Yeah.
And there's like hundreds of people that started porn at the same time as you, and then a bunch just kind of disappear.
It's very true. It is like an interesting kind of quick turnover in this industry for the most part. And then the people that stick around, you end up getting to know really well because you run into each other over and over again. It's kind of incestuous in that way, the community, right? You like
Yeah.
you all like sleep with each other and get to know each other if you stick around, I feel like eventually.
You're all going to the same convention, same award
Yeah,
shows. It's really
exactly.
like almost feels like a circuit or something, or
The circuit,
like
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Where I feel like porn almost feels like a sport at time because it's like the same people over and over again. And you're
Definitely.
always gonna be at these people at all these events. And then
Yeah.
one time this person's gonna win, but then next time this person's gonna win. It's just like this
And then it
repeating.
rotates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird to kind of see it and just like be a part of it because, you know, I think particularly with camming and working during the pandemic, I barely left the Bay for shooting. I haven't shot anything out of the Bay since the pandemic started.
Yeah.
So just to like be like, oh, I'm gonna fly to LA or even Vegas and just have this whole different experience where you're treated like a mini celebrity for a day or two is a
It's
very kind of
wild.
strange thing because it feels so apart from the rest of your job in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's really fun. Like, and I love that about our job is that there's so much to it. Like, I don't know, I have ADHD and I mean, I have a slew of mental health disorders, but particularly ADHD. And like, it makes me struggle with like keeping a job that's monotonous. And so for me, this job, always having something new to do, always being able to do some kind of creative, like even if there isn't something that's like happening like in the near future, I'll make something happen. I'll make a special event or like a costume night or whatever. And I make something to look forward to. And that's like one of the best parts of this job, I feel like, is that it's never the same. Like, like you can get into a habit or get into a kind of ritual or but I think that at the same time, like it gives you this opportunity to always be doing something new and different and meeting new people. And that's really a beautiful thing about this job. And like not all jobs are like that. There's so many that you get, kind of stuck into a certain kind of day-to-day monotony. And I feel like it's beautiful that with sex work you get to be so creative and get to express yourself in so many different ways. And I really love that because I just literally, if you like saw behind my camera right now, I have like a full rack of costumes, like a giant rack, like huge, and it's just overflowing out of my closet and stuff. And like I just love dressing up and meeting other people who love to dress up and doing it with them. Like it's inspiring to me, and I think it's like one of the best parts of this job for sure.
Yeah, I think it's so cool with porn that you can put together a project literally in your bedroom, edit it in your bedroom, and then it can be nominated for all these awards
Isn't that
against.
amazing?
It's such a weird thing to think about, being like, the reason I'm going to AVN is literally because something I did with this computer. Like, it
It's
doesn't feel
remarkable.
real, because like particularly when I got in it, it was the complete opposite. Everything was so run by studios. If you
Yeah.
wanted to do anything, you had to basically be on good terms with this booking agent for this company, and then their CEO has to decide if he wants you to be in this or that. It's just
Yeah.
such a different thing now where, if you really want to, anyone can be a porn star if you really want to put the time and effort into it.
Absolutely. It's so true. And I love that. I think it's kind of awesome. Like, because I think it used to be less, like you said, it's less accessible. Like now
Completely, yeah.
it's much more accessible. And I think that's awesome for people of all, like, coming from a diverse variety of backgrounds, I feel like. Whereas before it was a lot more just like porn is definitely still catered to the cishet eye, but like
Mhm.
I feel like it's branching out, and people like us are making our waves and slowly making it more mainstream, like amazing queer porn mainstream. And I think that's important. Um, you know,
Yeah, I think it really is. I think like that's the thing that gives me so much hope about porn, that's all creator driven now, where these studios, there's a few studios who are still doing well, but that's not the base anymore. Like, you have to be creating your own stuff. You have to be creative on your own.
yeah,
And I think it's
absolutely.
making better porn because, like, particularly trans porn, when I got in it, it was so formulaic and dumb, where it was
Yeah.
like, okay, you have to masturbate for this much, you play with your butt for this much, then you touch your boobs for 3 minutes. Like, it was a literal formula that these companies had. And then they're
Yeah.
like, then we fake an orgasm, then we do this. It's just like, I just feel so inauthentic, and I just feel like people can really see what's real and what's not during
Yeah.
porn, like they
Because that
can during
canned
any other
stuff,
medium.
yeah, it's so true. The canned stuff just doesn't come across as authentic.
Yeah,
You can tell when people are forcing it.
I feel like that porn acting is done now. I feel like you don't come across people who, I want have you ever shot with anyone who has like the stereotypical porn voice?
I do know what you're talking about. Yes, I have one girl that I've shot with. Yes, who definitely has a very porny voice.
Yeah, where it's
Not
like
in a bad way. Like I love her.
you're like talking to them, and it's like totally normal, and you're like talking about the scene, and you're like, this is gonna be hot, this is gonna be great, and then you're like in a scene and it's just a totally different voice, and you're just like, what?
Who is this? Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, I
Yeah,
don't,
totally.
why are you talking like that?
Where did this
So,
come from? Yeah.
yeah, that's such a just weird thing that used to exist. It was way more prevalent before. I'm very
Oh
happy
yeah,
it's kind of fading out. So
totally.
I have a few more questions for you. First off, well, thanks so much for coming on. I'm so glad I could connect with you. I wanted to talk to you either way, but that you're the person who won the award I won last year. It's
I
like,
love
I think
that.
great to pass it on. Hopefully
It's
we can do
so
this for
amazing.
every winner of this award for this whole decade.
I
So
would love that.
you have to, on your podcast now, you have to interview whoever wins
Yes,
2023,
I'm
and
going
then
to interview.
they have to start a podcast.
Right?
And then
I love it. We're just gonna be like,
yeah,
I'm passing the torch. You got to start yours.
you
Yeah,
have to start your podcast now.
I love it.
So you're like really on the up of your career right now, upward trajectory for sure. What do you want to do still? Like, what are your goals that you want to accomplish?
Ooh, I love this question because I have so many things. So let me think for a second. Okay, so I definitely still really want to do like a magazine cover, like as a porn, performer. I've been on the cover of several magazines under my former identity, and like I like that that person has slowly disappeared from the internet, my old name, because I changed my legal name, a few years ago because of
Mhm.
being trans. And so I had a very feminine name and I changed it to a masculine name. And it's funny because I used to go by Penelope Parker and now I go by Nell Parker because it's a little
Oh,
more
I didn't put
neutral.
that together. I
Yeah, it's
did not put
Penelope.
that's
It's
you.
short for, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I
So
feel like I
I'm
followed you for
Penelope.
a while. Wow.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Nell is just short for Penelope. Yeah. I've had multiple people come
Porn
up to me
is
and be
so
like, what
funny.
is Nell short for? And I'm like, Penelope. And they're like, oh, it's so funny.
Wow, I didn't know. Porn's so funny that like someone has a different name for a little while and you're like, "Oh, different person."
Right? Yeah, totally. And you're like, oh shit, I actually recognize that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so for a while I was doing Penelope and then I changed my name in real life and then I was like, okay, I'm changing my porn name to be a little bit more neutral as well. And I
Mhm.
liked Nell more. So I think that really it was a really positive, thing for me to do. I still like Penelope. It has a ring to it, right? Penelope
Mhm.
Parker, but
Yeah.
it feels like I'm in trouble almost when someone says that though.
It does sound very formal.
Yeah, it's formal. It's very formal feeling.
So yeah,
Um,
like yeah, what do you think like what's on your goal list for
so I definitely want to be on, sorry, I definitely want to
Oh
be
yeah.
on magazine. And then I want to film, like I told you, like more queer porn for queer people, made by queer people. I want to film with like other trans artists and like other, just people who are either gender non-conforming or like gender queer. I think it's really fun to work with other artists who, are expressing themselves that way and like being really authentic. And I don't like to make porn. I've kind of decided that I'm not going to make porn with people anymore who are gay for pay for the most part. Like I just don't really like it. Sorry if that sounds bad because I know some people do it and they do it and they make good money and they're happy doing it even though they're not, doing it because they enjoy it. But for me, I really want my scenes to feel like you want to be there. Like everyone
Hmm.
wants to be there and everyone's enjoying themselves and it's very consensual and very positive. And to me, I just am not a big fan of doing that like gay for pay stuff anymore or like oh, forced by. Like, I guess I'll do it here and there if someone really wants me to, like my friend wants me to. But honestly, it's just not my style. It's not my brand. I'm much
Hmm.
more a very like, everyone wants to be there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the kind of porn I love making. And I feel like a lot of people who have vaginas in this industry make porn with other people who have vaginas just because they feel like they're supposed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's not how I feel like it should be. You should make it the kind of porn you want to see and I think that's and like obviously you're going to sometimes do, cater to other people, right? But like to me it really is important to make the kind of porn that I want to see. And
Yeah,
that's
it's coming
what
from
I
an
want to
authentic
focus on.
place.
Yeah, I want it to be really genuine and authentic and for you to feel that there's chemistry there between the person I'm working with and you know what I mean, that we're really like enjoying each other's company and stuff like that. That's very important to me when I am creating, art or porn, that it feels authentic. And so I think to continue down that route and to sort of really follow my heart. That sounds cheesy, but you know what I
But
mean?
like that's real though, because then like all this stuff matters more. Like when you're winning
Exactly.
these awards and shit, like you're actively being yourself and actively like being in a positive place with it. Like
Absolutely.
I feel the same way about last year when I won because I was like, wow, I've actually figured shit out mental health wise and work life balance. So it means more than just being like, oh my God, I'm doing this because I think someone's going to buy it. And I'm in this hectic mindset, because
Yeah,
you can actually
absolutely.
enjoy this stuff.
Right. And also I realized that when I would go and edit those videos, I like love editing the ones where I have great chemistry with people. I'm like, oh, this is so fun and I can't wait to sell this. And then I kind of dread editing the ones where it's like gay for pay or like, you can tell the other person is not as interested or you know what I mean? Like I'll
Yeah.
edit those and I'll be like, ooh, this isn't very fun and I feel like it's not gonna sell as well. Like you can just tell, right? Like and I really want, yeah, I really want to sell things that feel authentic and feel really positive, really like, that's the kind of brand I'm trying to build for myself. So
Yeah. I think that's a really good brand. And I think it definitely fits within like the whole queer porn realm. Were you pretty influenced by like the queer porn that was being made in SF before? Or
yeah,
have you kind of come into that later?
I was very much a,
Oh, you're chunking
you know what I
again.
mean?
Yeah,
So I
can
definitely
you
watched a
repeat
lot of
that?
porn. I was a porn connoisseur before I got into
Oh,
Cammy.
really? Yeah, what
I love
stuff were
porn.
you into? Like
Um,
what performers,
God,
companies?
there's so many. One of my favorites, let's see, what is like 1 second. What was one I was just recently sharing with someone?
Yeah, so I was
Sorry, I
gonna.
just had a concussion recently, so I was trying to remember what
Oh,
her name is right
you're
now.
totally good right now.
I like my brain is so dead lately with remembering like names and dates and stuff like that. I had to drop my class this semester I was taking because I literally was like, this isn't gonna work because I had such a bad concussion.
Concussions are nothing to fuck
So
with.
sorry that my brain is a little
Oh,
fucky.
I totally understand. I've had a few before. They're not good.
That's an alarm. Yeah, you've had
Um,
concussions, so you understand.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's
And
some
they
crazy shit.
they get worse too the more you have them. And
Yeah.
I've had many, so
Yeah, I think I had two.
oh,
Not
I'm
not
so
great.
sorry.
Yeah, it happens. I was sporty when I was growing up. I played soccer, so
That makes sense.
yeah.
Sporty, yeah, definitely. That'll get you. That'll
Yep.
get you. That'll get you for sure.
But
So, yeah, so the one like a couple of artists that I was liking recently and my let's see. Yeah, my wife and I were talking about, let's see, Aubrey Kate recently.
yeah,
I don't
she's
know her.
amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing, but I don't like know her or anything. I just like her. I think she's a great artist.
Yeah, she
And there's
started the
an
same time I did.
oh
She's
really?
yeah, I think she's this is a bold statement, but I
What
think
are you
she's
gonna say?
tied for the greatest trans performer of all time. I think her and
Oh my
Bailey J are
God, I
at the
love.
same level. I think
Oh
so, at
yeah.
least. Yeah.
Yeah, I no, I love both of them, so I can totally. I think that's a really. I don't think that's like saying too much. I don't think that's like a bold
Yeah.
statement because I think she's really really talented. And I just like I love her style, right? But she sorry, I couldn't remember her name. I was like I was like I feel like I'm gonna get it wrong, so I had to go look it up to make sure I was saying it right. I was like, is it Aubrey or Audrey? You know what I mean? I was like, shit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, if you
Um,
just said blonde trans girl who wins a bunch of awards,
I should have said that,
I
and you would have
probably
been
could
like
have got
Aubrey
that. I'm
Kate.
like,
Yeah,
oh, Aubrey
totally.
Kate.
You would have been like Aubrey Kate. I know. I should have said that. You're right. I don't know why I didn't think that.
Yeah, she's
I was
like
like,
one
what's
of the few people who are still around from when I started porn. So just
so at
being
the same
able to
time? That's
see,
cool.
yeah, just being able to be like, oh wow, that's like a class peer that I got to see become like
That
the
is
biggest
so
trans
fun.
performer.
So
Yeah,
wait, when did you start again? You said you've been doing this for how long?
2013. So it's been like 10 years
2013.
in porn. I
That's
started camming
amazing.
in 2011. Yeah, I won the award last year the same week. That was my 10 years in camming. So
That's amazing. That must have been
yeah.
like a really satisfying award to win then.
Yeah, it was good. I was definitely on a high for that for a while. Also, I partied way too much afterwards.
How did the after party go for YNOTs? Because I had just been in a car accident, so I didn't get to go to the after party.
So I didn't go to an after party. I was drinking there. I was drinking whiskey because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm open to that. And then my
An
problem
open
was
bar.
I switched to champagne because I'm like, it's a victory. I have to. I won't get hungover. It's a victory champagne.
That's
And then
science,
like we
right?
went back to our hotel and like ordered a bunch of food and stuff. And then I was just like profusely sick at 5 a.m. But I'm like,
Oh,
it's fine. It's fine.
it's just victory throw up.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, what was your after party like?
Oh
How did
my
you
God.
celebrate?
Yeah, I really wish I could have hung out to talk to people more, but the lights and the like noise and everything was just getting to be too stimulating for my poor concussed
Hmm.
brain, so I had to go. But last year I stayed for the after party and had a great time. And this time I was with my really good friend Tina Hale. She was my date to the party. If you I think you saw her on my arm probably
Yeah,
when we were in
definitely.
line. Yeah, she's my little bestie. And she's awesome. And she's an MFC model. She was actually the first person I interviewed on my series.
Oh,
And she's really amazing. And she was my lovely date and supporter that night to make sure that I wasn't a complete wreck. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
'cause I was so stoned and like in so much pain. And like, I was like, I'm just trying to survive this. And like, I didn't think I was going to win. So when I went up there, I like blacked out. I was so stoned and I don't drink. So it was just like off of like anxiety that I blacked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I
It's
don't
a lot
remember
of
what I said.
excitement.
I do not remember what I said on stage. I cannot recall. I cannot tell you what the fuck I said on stage. You know what I mean? Like, I just went up there and stuff came out of my mouth. So,
I also feel like it has to be weird because I feel like whenever trans mask people are nominated for trans awards, it's like you're the one.
yes,
Like
that's
there's
the part.
never two, I feel
No, there's
like.
never two. I was the one, and a part of me is like that feels unfair almost to the other cat people in the category, right? You know what I mean? Like I wish they're like I've talked to Jay and Connor and some of the other people who run these awards, and I'm like, why don't you at this point have like a gender queer or non-binary category? Like there's so many people that are not gender conforming, that it really could be, obviously it's not as huge of a category as, but like it feels like lumping all of the trans people together can be a little bit like unfair to some people, if that makes sense.
But like also we can now say that you're the reigning mass trans cam star of the
I
year,
do love that.
and I'm the reigning trans femme one
You
from
are. You're my, yes,
2011. So no one's taken that from me yet.
that's
So
true. Yeah, so it's like you're the prom queen and I'm the prom king.
yeah,
Yes.
basically. Yeah. I am
That's how I'm picturing it anyways.
yeah.
Can we take some awkward prom pictures together
We
where I
definitely
have like a
can.
floating hand?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
feel like that'd be really cute.
Someone needs to do a prom porn. That's such a good idea.
Prom porn would be really fun. I love that idea.
Yeah, definitely future plans. So I have one final question for you.
Yes.
This is the only kind of BuzzFeed weird question I have.
I like it.
If you could wake up tomorrow and one thing in porn could magically be changed, what would it be?
Okay, the first thing that came to mind is that I would live in Tokyo.
Okay, that's amazing.
I lived in Tokyo for almost 2 years cumulatively when I was younger, when I was modeling.
Mhm.
I did Tokyo Fashion Week a couple of times, and so
Fun.
I really, really loved Japan. Like I really connected with Japanese culture and the people. The one thing that scares me to go back there is that I'm trans now. I don't know how they're gonna react to me being trans. Because when I was there before, they were like very, very nice to me. But I was very much a girl, you know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm nervous to go back and be like, I'm a dude. What are you guys gonna do about it? You know what I mean? So we'll see. But they are genuinely just like such an amazing like culture, like their food and their like it's just so different than America. Like
yeah,
people are so much more polite and respectful and like you'll be like lost somewhere and someone you'll be like, "Oh, can you help me find my way?" And someone will be on their way to work and they'll like stop and like walk you to your destination and be
yeah.
late to work to make sure you get to where you're going. You know what I mean? Like that's how
It's
kind
honestly
people
so
are
different
there.
there.
It's just
Like,
so different. Yeah, and I identified so much with their just the way that their like culture. I know I loved it and like I just loved the people and like the way that the families, dynamic like worked. People like loved each other and took
mhm.
care of their, their families and stuff. And I thought that that was really beautiful about Japan. And I think that would be something that I would love to do again is to live there again, but not living there while I'm 98 pounds because I was horribly underweight and miserable when I was
Yeah,
there. So I would love to like be, there now as like a healthy adult. Does that make sense?
yeah, definitely. The porn scene there's so cool.
Yeah, I
Like the
haven't
amount
been
of
there to experience it, so I would love to get involved with it.
yeah, I'm going to shoot there in March and I'm super
That's so
stoked to go
cool.
back. Yeah, I did a screening there, I think like 5 years ago. I have a friend who actually went on the podcast here, who's a Dom who's from Tokyo, lived there. I think the only time they lived in the States was when they went to school. But they're starting to do more like indie porn there. So the whole Japanese like porn scene was entirely studio based and it was really insular. So if you were a performer, you like were very loyal to their one studio or whatever. But now it's
Yeah,
starting to open up more with like things like mini vids there and like clip sites. So now there's like a really booming porn scene there that's outside of just studio porn. I just think
that's
it's
really
so
good to
cool.
know.
Have you gone
That
to
gives me
have
hope.
you got have you gone to a sex shop there?
No, I haven't. Not while I was there, because I was underage while I was there for the most. Oh no, I went
Oh,
till I was
damn.
19, but I was kind of like I was keeping to myself. I was very much keeping to myself. So I
Mm-hmm.
went when I was 17 and 19. So I was pretty young, right? So I didn't go to a sex shop because I haven't gone back as like a full ass adult. But I would love to go back and be able to actually go enjoy those things and because I've always been a very sexual person, but when you're 19 and you're alone in a country, you don't want to go do that usually. Although when I lived in New York, I lived
Yeah,
above.
they're like the amount of
Oh
where
wait, you
did
cut
you live
out.
above?
Sorry. I was gonna say when I lived in New York, I lived
Oh, where
above
did
two
you live
porn
above in New York?
shops. It was like two porn shops, and you had to walk like up
Oh,
the
really?
stairs, and it looked like you were going into the porn shop to get into my apartment. So people would always like follow us up to our apartment and be like, "Whoa, what's up? You going in the porn shop?" And we'd be like, "No, I'm going home. Good night."
Okay, before Zoom got us, you were talking about wanting to move to Japan and pursue
Yes.
porn in Japan?
Yeah, I would love to move to Japan and revisit and just explore more. I think that would be an amazing opportunity to go back to Japan. If I could wake up tomorrow in Japan, that would be ideal.
That's so cool. I hope you get a chance to go back.
I definitely
Um,
hope so too. You've given me some inspiration knowing that you've gone there and had a good experience.
yeah, I had a really great time. Yeah, I stayed with my friend there. I stayed very far in like the suburbs. It was maybe like 30 minutes from Shinjuku.
Oh, gotcha.
And yeah, no one spoke English, but I got by. I
Yeah,
don't
isn't that
speak any
interesting?
Japanese. You just
The
like
cult
figure it out.
Yeah, the culture shock, it can be very interesting when you first go there, definitely.
Yeah, I went from so I was traveling with my film at the time. So the place I was in right before it was Chicago. So it was a very big culture shock from Chicago to Tokyo, as you can imagine.
Well, very different people for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It was an interesting flight there. It was like very much half Chicago people and half Tokyo people. And it was like, interesting group.
Was it
Interesting group.
is it just me or is it like usually like the best meals? I don't know for me like the flight food is always amazing when you go to Asia. I feel like it's like
Yeah.
compared to like when you're traveling somewhere
Yeah,
else, I feel like the food is always way better.
I flew ANA there, which was really good. What airline did you fly there?
I can't remember right now because it's been so long. I just remember like all the times I went, for some reason the food was way better than when I would go anywhere else.
For sure. Yeah, there's a few European airlines that are pretty good food wise. I flew KLM recently,
Oh,
and
that's
that
good
was
to
a
know.
really good experience. And even like British Airways wasn't bad food wise, but definitely think like the Japanese ones are better. But I feel like most
Yeah,
things are better in Japan
yeah,
than
their
anywhere
food is
else.
just super high quality. They have like a really, really high standard for quality for everything, I feel like, in
Mhm.
Japan. And
Yeah,
everything
like
is really clean too.
yeah, it's so different than in the United States where I live in San Francisco, so everything's filthy all the
Yeah,
time.
it's
So
super different.
yeah.
Yeah,
So where can everyone find you on social media?
definitely. You can find me. I have a site, nelparker.com, that you can find me, and you can access my links there that will take you to my different platforms, my profiles that I stream from, as well as my Etsy shop with fun merchandise that I have. If you want some nudie, awesome merchandise of me. And then I also have my many vids. So I stream on Chatterbait, mostly on Chatterbait. You can find me, Nel Parker. Occasionally on MFC, I do some streams there so I can smoke weed. But that's the main reason why I stay there at all. It's just so I can smoke weed and I can watch movies without getting in trouble on my projector. So that's the only reason. But you'll mostly find me on Chatterbait, and definitely subscribe to my Fansly, Nell Parker, as well. My Fansly, I've been adding new content every couple of days, so there's always something new coming out, new nudes or videos. I actually just released an outtake from my short film from Hornicopia, which is the short film in Hump Film Fest. So you can see an outtake video of me coming, like I'm masturbating while candy is being dumped all over my body. And it's
What
a
kind
really
of
fun
candy?
video. It's all kinds of different candy, like nerds and like just like literally like all the little candies you can think of just being poured all over, like Mike and Ike's, like there's like
Oh, that's so
Mike and Ike's
fun.
like vibrating all over me because of my vibrator. It's really fun.
That's so amazing. Well, thank you
So
so much
that
for coming on. I can't wait until we get to collaborate coming up.
absolutely.
Like,
I'm
I'm
so
super stoked.
excited. It's gonna
Yeah,
be a
I'm
great time.
me too. I'm so stoked and I hope I get to see you at AVN. I don't
Definitely,
know
I
if you're
can't wait.
going.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will be at AVN. I can't wait to give you a big hug.
Yeah, likewise. Well, thank you so much. And I hope everyone enjoyed listening to us despite the technical difficulties. We
Yeah,
apologize for that.
thank you for
But
your
it's
patience, everyone.
it's 2020, it's Zoom, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Or it's
absolutely.
2022, holy shit.
I know, almost 2023. God, we're like Jumanji. What year is
Uh,
it?
yeah, right? Well, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. I really
Bye,
appreciate you
everyone.
hosting me.
Of course. I loved having you on. Bye,
Have a
everyone.
bye bye.